Hey, Justin, welcome back to our next session. How are you today?
Doing very well, Dharam. It's great to be with you. Back in the US, it's the last weekend of the summer, so to speak, and reality is hitting, and fall is not quite in the air here in the Middle East, but I think we have a light at the end of the tunnel as far as the heat goes. So I think everybody's pretty excited with, of course, back in the US with college football starting. So great time. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And for those coffee lovers, I know the pumpkin spice it will be here before you know it.
Good job. Okay, great. So we're talking about volatile uncertainty and so many things going on. Anyway, let's talk about the our topic today: delivering value in the VUCA environment, a VUCA world we are living in at the moment.
Yeah, what a time to be alive right now. I think one of the things to keep in perspective, though, while we obviously are probably more interconnected worldwide than we ever have been, I think it's important to take a step back and look at, hey, every generation has always faced challenges of volatility and different changes, technology changing their lives. And so we have to keep that in our context and not necessarily, how do I want to say it, belittle it, but also not overcomplicate it, find that middle road. And we're not in the most unique or the first generation to face consequences or challenges as a society. So I'm a firm believer in looking at history, and still history will tell you a lot. And as they say, those that don't study history are bound to repeat it. So I think it's always good to keep that mindset in the back of your mind.
Yeah. Look, today I was hearing it on radios, and she was talking about our generation is has seen the most changes and will change. I mean, whoever. Look, we are. I mean, I have seen sitting in the bullock cart to coming and seeing those supersonic, super fast rocket going into the Mars or everywhere. So with Chat GPT and the Zoom itself, nobody had thought about all this thing, and it's all happening here. And every day something new happening.
Yeah, most definitely. It's certainly hard to stay up to speed on everything, and again, I think it's important from a personal standpoint, and of course goes into your professional. Just be positive and
Yeah.
just embrace it, understand it, challenge yourself, and I think if you kind of keep that mindset, I think everything is going to work out just as you had hoped.
Exactly. And actually, instead of getting worried about this environment, book changes, you can be part of the journey, and you may be, as we say, the tides. You can be on the top of the tides instead of worrying about, hey, next tide is coming, getting ready for the next challenge, ready for with the learning experience, open mind. What is coming? Let's be ready for that.
Exactly. As they say, with great change comes great opportunity. And so being able to shape that,
Yeah.
to be a real leader in all these changes, there's great opportunities for folks if they want to tackle those challenges. Great opportunities.
So before we get into this VUCA word, let's talk about what is VUCA stand for.
So VUCA would stand for the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So VUCA, Victor Uniform Charlie Alpha, as we would say. So kind of what Dharam and I have already been chatting about. It's really just all encompassed in the VUCA acronym for those that are watching.
Exactly. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. And as a project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, we are the one making the difference, and we have to be aware of all these changes and all the uncertainties, and being upfront of those things.
Yeah, no question. Great. We've talked about it in our series of all the great tools out there. But again, because of all the different changes in technologies, as a project manager, you're going to be busy with learning I always think as a PM, you kind of got to know a little bit of everything. And so don't necessarily have to be a subject matter expert, but at least have an idea and understanding. And so, again, a project manager is a very challenging position, but I find it very rewarding. A lot of folks always hear me say, everybody wants to be a project manager until they become one. And they realize that well, this is a lot more than what I thought. They think that it's you're having a good time and just telling everybody else what to do. But then when you really get into the seat, you feel the heat, so to speak.
But at the same time, it's very rewarding as well. You feel when you complete something which was impossible in the time frame, impossible, and you made it possible. You look back, wow, it's all happened, done. I made it possible. So that's where the reward comes, reward of self-satisfaction. Going through all this uncertainty, ambiguity, and still make it possible, then that's where the real project manager or program manager comes.
You're exactly right, Dharam. And in my experience, that there's always a first time for everything.
Yeah.
And so that first time is certainly going to be more stressful. It's going to be just harder. But once you get through that, it's kind of like breaking that ceiling. And once you broke that ceiling, when you go through it again, you know what to do, you know what to be looking for, and it does get easier. Of course, as you move up, you're going to take on more complex things, but you still have that how do I want to say it, that history and lessons learned to be able to lean back on, and again, it'll give you that foundation to really you'll find that it's not nearly as stressful. So I love the fact, while it wasn't very fun at the time, I will say, I love the fact that I really went through a hard time with our team, but we all found a way to get it done and deliver on time, and really it was like a mission impossible type thing. And now, even though we like to sit around and have dinner together and laugh about those times, and back in the day when we were really in a tough time, I'll never forget saying to our chief integrator, one day you and I are going to be in the back having an adult beverage and a nice steak, and we're going to be just sitting there laughing about it. I don't know when that time is going to be, but we will one day. And sure enough, it was several months later, and we were sitting there, and I said, "Remember when I said that? Well, today is that reward." So again, it's great experience, and quite frankly, I think that's when you learn the most.
Yeah.
And it gets committed to the muscle memory, to where that's just what and so for me, no regrets, and that's the best way that I've been able to learn, and I try and share that with anyone I can.
Yeah, I think that's where we're talking again. You use the challenges. If you do have to face through the challenges, it's a blessing to you. While it is challenging at the moment, you may be feeling overwhelmed, but this is the time you're going to remember, because you made it possible, and you look back, yeah, I did it. Normal walk, plane, if everything is so smooth, then anybody can walk. But that the difference comes when there were all uncertainties, unexpected, and all challenges, and you go there and make it possible.
That's right. If it's too easy, then number one, you're probably extremely lucky, but it's not going to make you better. And what'll happen is if you happen to take on a more complex project, you're not going to have that experience to lean on, and it'll end up being where the how do I want to say it, the microscope will be on you even greater, and you're not going to have that expertise or experience to be able to lean on, which can be very detrimental to the project, of course, and even your own professional career.
Exactly. Let's get into the questions. Let me start my first question. How can we create a hopeful and promising future in an unpredictable, boundaryless world?
Yeah, I think we've already kind of touched on it. I mean, instead of complaining about the world that we live in and now the changes and everything feels like it's chaos, embrace it. Understand that, okay, if there's a certain challenge that society is facing, let's find a way that we can solve that. And quite frankly, if you can solve a particular challenge within society through a new technology or something, you're going to be living a very good life. And so, again, you look at something like an Amazon that was created, that wasn't that long ago that didn't exist in our lives. And now you find it across the world, and be able to, I was just home not long ago, and, I had to get some new filters for my refrigerator and the ice makers, things like that. And, oh gosh, I need to get this. I go on my Amazon app, and 2 clicks later, it'll be here, tomorrow or the next day. I mean, how simple and how easy is that to be able to do it? That was unheard of not long ago. And so,
Oh, yeah.
again, that's filling a void and making life easier for us. Granted, it makes it very dangerous being able to order things so quickly, but again, finding a solution to a problem and being able to monetize it in a way that that presents value is really where you're going to shape the future. And I think again, not complaining about it, finding solutions is where you're going to catch excellence, and you're going to change the world for the better.
Yeah, no matter what you complain or not complain, word is changing. And when it's changing, why not learn and be part of it?
Exactly. There's certain things that I'll never forget. I was happened to be playing golf with a mentor not long ago, and we were talking about actually I would say complaining about certain things going on with economically or whatever it was. And the mentor said to me, he goes, I don't like it either, but there's got to be a way that we can make money on it. And it just clicked to me. I was like, he's right. Like, it's just a mindset. Instead of complaining about it, find a way to be able to solve it. And so again, just that little sentence that he said, it just opened my eyes to, like, yeah, he's right. So again, that's just something again from a mindset. The guys like an Elon Musk and Bill Gates that have literally created something that have changed the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You're living on. I mean, I think that if we look at the word differently, let's say, I want to be a program manager, for example. Okay, just a condition. I'm saying, I want to be program manager, but wherever you see the but come in between, that's stopping you. But I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the expertise that this, it's so difficult and so many. No, that's where the but is coming, they're stopping you. Now, if you replace the but by end, okay, I want to be a program manager and I'm going to do these things. Suddenly you find a way.
That's right.
So I think that's where we talk about positive mindset. And that positive mindset can make a huge difference. Either you can get stopped, nothing will happen after that, and you may have no problem at all. But you take that remove the but, and something else will happen magically, which you never thought.
Right. Keep taking on new challenges. You never know who you're going to meet, and being as a program manager, as you continue to move on, take more complexity, you never know who you might meet, and opportunities arise. I mean, again, it's just that mindset that you got to just keep going. Quitting is not an option, which, stopping yourself from complaining about it, it's not an option. You got to keep going.
Yeah. And I think most people have great ideas. They want to do this, they want to change the world. They get stopped. Oh my God, I don't have this. I don't have this. What if? They start thinking too much. The difference come, okay, I want to change the world. This is what I want to be in next 5 years, 10 years, and this is how I'm going to change. And if I look back myself, 15 years, when I was a very shy project manager, you asked me to speak in front of my team of 5 people. These are my team. They're doing my work for every day, and I have to introduce. Everybody has to introduce. They're saying, "Hey, this is me," and I have to speak. Before the first word start, my heart boom, 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 literally. I don't know what will happen. All these things going on in my mind. from that moment to this moment when I'm talking, going on the conferences, meeting, talking, people like you guys, you and many other great people, working with so many people, was, if you look at the 15 back, it's not in the wildest dream. But one thing I had in my mind, I have to be something, and I have to teach. Something was there in my mind. How I'm going to do that? I keep finding my ways. Either somebody come in my life, they gave me some idea, or they pull me out, or I have taken some step. So when you have vision, which is very clear vision, and no doubt things happens.
Right.
And when you have doubt, you get stopped by yourself. No, I don't think so. I'm not ready. What up? Nobody else has done in the world. How can I do this?
Yeah, and like you said there, with the stage fright of talking in front of someone, or hey, everyone has had to do it for their first time. So, and guess what? No one has done great on their first time. So you always have to remember that, hey, find someone that can help you improve. And
Exactly.
and there are many people within an organization, and again, when you're sitting in the seat listening, take note of how they deliver something, how they, act, all those different things. Not just listen to what they're saying, listen to watch how they're saying it, and afterwards ask pointed questions. Well, how did you prepare for this so well? And those are the type of questions that you're not just listening to what they're saying, but how they're doing it. I think that's very important, and I think you'll drastically improve from your first time to your second time.
Exactly.
Guaranteed.
Exactly. So yeah, guys, it's a promising word. If you think that way, if you think no, it's changing, ChatGPT is going to take away my job, and this is going to happen, all this is happening. Believe it or not, it's taking away lots of job. It's going to happen. But what you can do to ride the tide.
That's right.
Okay. So my next question is, in a world where volatility is the norm, yes, we are talking about it. How can one develop versatile leadership style to tackle unpredictable challenges and sustain team resilience?
Well, I think you're really seeing a lot of that in the agile ways of thinking nowadays in the industry, or not just it's in any industry, I should say. And with the servant leadership, there's different things, at least within my leadership style, where I'm not a micromanager, but I like to be hands-on in the fact that I like to talk with our team and always try and have a good finger on the pulse, so to speak. And when you have that type of relationship with your team, I think you're really going to be able to sense that that time when there's challenges within the team, and being able to easily address them. And it allows you to get to know them more. Whenever you get the opportunity to spend time with them over lunch or dinner, on the road, or whenever, or even while they're working on a job site, just being able to spend that 5 to 10 minutes to get to know them better, be able to watch. A lot of times managers will go to a job site and just kind of bark and tell everybody what to do. And for me, I like to especially when it's the first time and I'm visiting a site, I want to just sit back and observe. I think that's very important. And a lot of times folks don't do that. They kind of go on and just tell everybody how things should be done without really understanding, how things are operating within the site. What sitting in your office back in the US is going to be vastly different than how you get things done, in anywhere else in the world. And so understanding the challenges of just getting to the job site. Do they have the proper, badges and site access? Those things can be challenges on a daily basis, in certain sites. And so understanding what your team is going through, again, you might be sitting there looking at your progress reports and going, oh, we're behind. And, you're just beating them with a stick. But you're not taking the time to understand, all right, why are we, behind, and quite frankly, you're going to likely realize that, hey, they're facing challenges that, that you need to get involved with, and they may not be able to communicate that with you clearly. So again, it's very important to be able to understand that stuff and understand, number one, I like to call it humility. No one's perfect.
Yep.
So embrace that. You're going to make mistakes just as everyone else is. And I think being very transparent with your team as much as possible. I understand there's certain things that you can and can't say. But I think for me, how I've developed my leadership style is based on that, being able to truly build relationships with my team. And so that gives me that more of a gut instinct feeling, and understanding how people are reacting in meetings, that if we are geographically separated, that's going to give me some better intuition, which again, when you have that relationship, it's much easier to communicate as a team as well, because there's a lot of trust and rapport there. So I think that's how the best, again, that's not necessarily the only way, but that's at least how I have been able to kind of really develop my leadership style, and certainly within the servant leadership and agile framework, especially in international projects. You just have to embrace it. That's just what it is.
Yeah, and you mentioned about servant leadership, and this is a very, very important role a project program manager plays, because you are creating environment for the team to do their job. Basically, you should be able to see what's coming. You should be able to predict. That's where the risk management, assumption log, and all those things. What can go wrong? What if my assumption failed? Well, you are making plans so that when the things are happening, you're ready to take the action. So that's where I believe the project program and portfolio managers are the key in this environment, VUCA environment we're talking about. So you guys can take a view, and based on your experience, of course, you need to have some kind of exposure and experience of that area environment, and using your project program and portfolio management skills, and predicting what can go wrong, and be ready for that. Have a response plan which is in line with the organizational vision and within the defined constraints. And when the things happening or not happening, you are the one making the difference.
That's right.
All right. So as a leader, how do you make sense of shifting markets and technologies? Now going back to the same question as a servant leadership. Can you share an instance where this approach helped you guide your organization through significant change?
So for me, in the industry that I'm in, there's the change is going to be a little bit slower, simply because of the nature of our business. Yeah. It does change significantly, but it's probably dragged out a little bit more, just simply because components and things need to be tested and ensure that they're going to be operational for specific missions. But how do I make sense of the shifting markets and technologies? A lot of that is just I do a lot of reading, and just number one, understanding my environment and what the industry as a whole, it may not necessarily affect me in the short term, but I know long term, here's where it's going, and how can I help shape the now to get to a future that's going to benefit our organization. One of the great things that Parsons has done over the last couple of years, it wasn't that long ago that they were still a private company, and over the last few years, certainly their bread and butter is critical infrastructure, design, build type things, and to where now they're adding companies such as the company that I work for that protected the critical infrastructure, and so all of a sudden you have a company that can really is a one-stop shop, and continuing to add value to its current customer set. And then also in the reverse, where our legacy customers are now realizing, hey, well, gosh, not only can we protect it, hey, we can design it to where we can save you money up front, being able to design specific systems within a brand new building. So again, it'll go both ways, and that's just one necessarily example. But I will say, to be broader, because I know in the industry that I'm in can be not as understanding on a world stage. I I really was thinking about this question earlier, and shifting markets and technologies, and we all know Apple, and we all know the iPod. We all thought it was a great piece of technology that first we thought it was amazing having a Sony Walkman or one of those type of things where gosh, we could have our music on the go, and then all of a sudden Apple comes out with the iPod, and it just got smaller and smaller, and being able to it was to the point where it looked nearly just like an iPhone, but it didn't have that capability where it was had the cell phone signal to where it reached its limitations. And then when streaming services like Spotify and things like that came on, the Apple really adjusted quickly. And if you're able to stream something where I think Spotify's got probably over 80 million plus songs, well, no piece of hardware is going to be able to hold all that in your pocket. And Apple realizing that, hey, we're almost putting too many devices on our customers, being able to discontinue. I think the iPod went away in 2022 or something like that. And I think they still were profitable at the time, but they realized that, hey, this is not going to end well for us. And so being able to recognize that and make the necessary changes and add additional value to your iPhone, and being able to combine the iPod and the iPhone, I think is a really amazing adaptation. And you realize that, hey, Apple could have just kept selling it, the iPod, and they decided to add additional value. And I know there's going to be the iPod versus Samsung debates here, but again, just conceptually, want to give an example broadly that shows the shifting technologies and markets, and how a company has been able to really adapt to the changes in technologies and capabilities within their components.
Exactly, and it's a great example how Apple has, from the very early days of, those the cassettes, and then coming to the Walkman, and then in this now changing, and now you have iPhone. I'm not the iPhone person. I'm not Apple person, but that's where the Samsung come. So look, it's changing, and it's everybody is adopting. If they don't adapt, then you will be out of market very soon. Somebody else will take over from you.
Yep. Just like Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix and they laughed at them. Well, now Blockbuster's gone. It's in the dustbin. So
it's amazing. BlackBerry, BlackBerry, these guys are doing great, and they were watching how the Apple is launching this new thing. This is not going to take off. And before they realize the BlackBerry out, and Apple is there. It's everywhere.
Love my BlackBerry. You brought up a sore subject there, Dharam.
I know. It's what I never had it, but I used to feel, okay, one day I like to have, but now, no.
Oh,
that's a piece of
yeah, it's a piece of history now.
Exactly. Look, that's where we have to keep an eye on what is changing, what can we do, and how can we make the use of the technology and make benefit out of this.
That's right.
Yeah. So how do you approach chaos as a natural part of managing complex systems? And how, so let me finish. And how has this mindset helped you succeed in the disorderly environment where traditional methods may not suffice?
Well, chaos and project manager, I would say, go hand in hand. Quite frankly, it's a chaos coordinator is probably a description of a project manager in a lot of ways. Again, you're going to have some of that, and again, I lean on some of my past athletic experience, and I'll never forget an older teammate of mine. I would used to get so bent out of shape with maybe I had a bad practice, and knowing the next day I'm going to get tore up in the film session, and then there are days that you felt that you had a great practice, and then you get to the film session and maybe you didn't have as good as you thought. So I've always tried to keep the mindset of it's never as good as it seems, and it's never as bad as it seems. and just keep an even keel as much as you possibly can. And I think as a project manager, you really need to have that. You're going to be faced with constant challenges, changes, stakeholder engagement, and leadership initiatives are going to be driven down towards you. And it's just, just when you think you got it going, there's going to be something that's going to happen that you may have to change. And so, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, I think is a good way to say it. And just being able to have that understanding. And again, as a leader of your team, keeping that even keel. If they come to you with an issue, don't react, don't show a face. Again, just listen, write it down, and say, okay, understand. Ask pointed questions to make sure that you have a full understanding of what they're communicating to you. And just let them know, okay, let me do a little bit of thinking on this, or if you have to escalate it. Again, showing that confidence to your team in any type of leadership position, I think, is very important. And again, will gain great rapport. I've had some leaders in my past. Again, we've all had good and bad, where you bring anything to them and it's just like an instant emotional reaction, and then they realize that they really overreacted, and it just kind of creates a distrust in the team. And so again, make sure that your nonverbal communication is just as solid as your verbal communication. I think that's very important. And again, being able to handle those challenges and the chaos in an orderly, as much as possible fashion, that's when you have to communicate the most with your stakeholders and your team. And so, but the approach for me has always been never as good as it seems, never as bad as it seems. Keep an even keel, and make sure you're still taking care of your team at the end of the day.
Yeah, another thing we have to also remind ourselves, like, okay, we are not magicians. We are the project managers, program managers. We make the things happen. Yeah, magician, somebody create from rabbit from the hat. We are not. And but we still need to be aware of what is happening around the world. And knowledge about your, as you mentioned, the documentation, the risk assumptions and constraints, and documenting them, keeping them, everybody informed, what is happening, what is not happening. Even what is not happening, whatever you cannot do as well, you should not keep it to you. You go and work with your steering committee, work with the sponsor. Remember, their stake is there also. Their success of the program is not only yours, their also head is on the chopping board. So they are also eager to get the work done, completed successfully. So work with them, escalate them. Hey guys, look, this is what the issue going on, and I've tried these things, and I'm going to try this. My options are these. What do you think? Give them option, not just go with problem. Go with the solution. Okay, these are 4 possible options. What do you think? Can you from your experience?
So, expectation management. You're exactly right. That's very critical.
Yeah, and yes, you have a team, great team, which is doing their job. But at the same time, if you're lacking with some resources, some critical resources, hey, without that resource, that raw material, we cannot do anything. If the raw material, that material is delayed, we cannot. Yeah, we are trying these other steps. Yes, as part of the risk mitigation is, okay, if we cannot get the material from outside, we'll get it from local store, which is more costly. That's fine, but that's, at least we mitigate. Keep an open eye, open mindset to think widely and make it possible.
Well said.
Why are speed-centric goals risky today? And how can they be balanced with thoughtful value delivery? Can you share an example of where prioritizing speed led to challenges, and how the focus was shifted to ensure better outcome?
Yeah, I'll give you a specific example on this one with speed-centric goals. We had a customer that really needed to meet a deadline, and they wanted to basically have us bring in as many people as we could to get it done. And while it was a great opportunity for us, I had my own reservations about it, but I would say at that particular time, I hadn't faced a situation like that. And the biggest thing that ended up happening where we had a specific team, and doing this particular type of installation on site, having one team means you're doing it one specific way. And when you add a bunch of people to a site, you're going to have inconsistencies in how things are done. And so what ended up happening is we got it done, but then when we went to testing to make sure that things were in working order, there wasn't any consistencies in our troubleshooting. So when we were finding issues, there wasn't a consistent issue. It was one thing was here, and the same sensor that was in another place, there was an entirely different issue. It had to do with the wiring, things like that. So in the end, it ended up being where it really didn't save a lot of time. It ended up almost being more stressful because, the time, speeding things up, you're probably going to you're going to sacrifice certain things. And so, while it didn't necessarily do any damage, at the end of the day, when you start thinking about all the different troubleshooting, because again, the error in the installation or the wiring wasn't consistent. And so when you're doing those things, trying to find the issue to make it right becomes much more complex because, by the time we got around to doing the troubleshooting, the additional folks had left. And so, again, you don't have that continuity on the team to be able to easily troubleshoot things. So that was a specific example. When you start adding more folks to a team, you're going to have inconsistencies in the way in which work is done, which then creates some other challenges. So, with that, I think, again, as we just kind of touched on it, the question before, that expectation management, I think, is very important. Where when you presented that type of opportunity, I quite frankly, in my next experience with something like that, I would certainly take the time up front, and I would try and even find a way to where I'd have one of my folks that's going to be on the enduring team, where it's not just this surge team that's going to be there for a couple of weeks, almost have like a mirrored, have someone that's going to be, long-term, sitting with those folks to make sure that they're doing things consistently. While that can take some time up front, it's going to save you time in the long run. So speed-centric goals today, I think, is a very dangerous thing. It introduces a lot more risk. And it also introduces missed opportunities, I think. When you're trying to blow through something really quickly, yeah, it might be a short-term gain, but you've probably missed a long-term gain. And you may end up having some issues long-term by missing out on those particular opportunities up front. So again, it depends on the nature of the industry that you're in, but in my particular situation that I listed, that was a really big challenge. And it was almost to the point that if I was presented with the opportunity the next time, I don't know that I would want to do it, just because it didn't really, I felt that it didn't save a lot of time, and it didn't add the value in which our original intentions were.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's speed centric. When you talk about high speed delivery and faster delivery and unrealistic time frame, they do come with lots of risk of quality, risk of missing deadline, risk of people wearing out, and lots of injuries, and many things can happen. So, and you're right, we need to have a proper, actually, in this kind of, when you talk of speed centric, you have to do more planning, better planning, a lot of thinking required as a project manager, as a leader. Because while the team is working, you are the one who's seeing what is coming, what can I really do? And that's where your role as a project manager comes to work out, okay, when we're talking about risk issues and, the constraints and communication and stakeholder engagement, all these are very, very important in this kind of environment to minimize the impact of the, believe it or not, we have to do it. Some of the work which is required kind of yesterday, and you have to work on unrealistic time frame. How are you going to make it possible? That's what you have to see.
Yeah.
I go with my example of this HP when I was hired by this company as a contractor in the month of November of that year, 2009 and 2010. And they hired me as implementing this cloud data center. I have never heard about this cloud term. I mean, cloud is cloud, but the cloud data center. And I've done a number of data center migration, this and that. I think that was the reason they hired me. And I never heard. Now they're talking, first we're talking about unlisted time frame. The first data center is going to be ready, has to be ready by March. The second data center has to be ready by June of the next year, with fully connected, fully populated, all devices fully connected. And November, December, January, as you know, in Western countries, Christmas is the, when everybody takes on a holiday. But it's still getting, going through with no resources, no money allocated, no devices there to make it possible. So that's where I feel that when you look back, you say, okay, I achieved something which are not possible at all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
thoughtfulness, thinking, planning, yeah, all these are required, and open-mindedness and resourcefulness. Okay, sometimes you don't have those resources. And also, if something else can be, we can talk to somebody, hey, why can I borrow your resources? Or sometimes the resource come to you, believe it or not.
Yep, you're exactly
Anyway,
right.
so yeah, so that's where, I still believe that was the best program I did. While it was very chaotic, a lot of issues raised and many things were happening. But as we say, when we look back, wow, I did it. And delayed by only 5 days, believe it or not, only 5 days delay.
That's well done.
Yeah, so I think we had talked about this at many times, but yeah, so now people start feeling bored. Hey, Dharam, you are the only example. No, I do have many examples, but this is one of the big highlight of my life.
It's the one that's been etched in your mind forever.
And that's especially when talking with speed-centric. Actually, when Bob, my manager, came to me, hey, Dharam, I know this is very, it looks like difficult program. It's not difficult, it's impossible program, Bob. But we'll be there. We'll be there. Anyway. So as a project manager, what you can do, you can see what can happen and create a vision and keep your team motivated, excited, and take them, because if you don't believe in it, nobody else will believe.
Yep.
Okay, so that's where the part of your creating synergy to believe in the vision and go for it. Okay, how do you balance prudent risk management with aggressive growth in a volatile environment? Can you share an example of where this approach led to a long-term innovation? We talked about it anyway.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. How do I want to say this? One of the biggest challenges when we were first starting our work in Saudi Arabia, and again, this was the old Saudi Arabia, not how it is now. But it was always and it doesn't matter necessarily Saudi Arabia, any country, just navigating the customs process and getting our materials in is always a challenge and a risk for any country when you're doing international work. And so again, that's a huge risk up front, but being able to find a way to fast track that and building the relationships on the ground ended up being to where we pretty much mitigated it to where it's almost a strength of ours, because we now understand what it takes. We have the relationships, and we have such a well-oiled machine now in a very challenging environment to where we've kind of unlocked the key how to success within their process, understanding their process in and out, and being able to of course speak the language, having the ability to leverage our stakeholders to get things in and out quickly and transported to, Saudi Arabia is a huge country, and getting things from Riyadh to Abha or to Tabuk or Dharam is not just a simple drive. And so, again, this was a great, it's turned into a great strength of ours. And so some of our competitors to this day still have huge challenges with that, and being able to not only navigate the customs clearance process, but also being able to establish in-country supply chains. I'll never forget the first time coming over here to the Middle East. You know, typically in the US, we call it a hardware store where we're going to get, you know, nuts and bolts and things like that. But over here, if you put in a hardware store, you're going to get like cabinet doors or door handles, things like that for your exterior and interior doors. So just understanding that it's a technical supply store that's going to get you your nuts and bolts. So again, I'm not saying it's necessarily a crazy innovation or anything, but again, just getting on the ground and understanding processes and how to do things. You know, when you're operating in another country, especially when you don't have the ability or the nicety to go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's back in the US, you have to figure out new supply chains. And so being able to find a way to rely more on the local economy really mitigates almost your entire risk portfolio when it comes to materials. So again, those are just some of the, again, when you're looking at a new opportunity in another country, some of those first things you're going, oh my goodness, how are we going to get things in and out? Or, what if we're short something? What are we going to have to do? Is there anywhere to go? Those type of things. And you're only going to find out and be able to mitigate those things unless you get on the ground and be able to build those relationships and have a better understanding of the market as a whole.
I think you are qualified to go on Mars now.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You are qualified to go to do a project on Mars.
I think that's a one-way trip. I'm not ready for that one, my friend.
No, we have a supersonic rocket which takes you in a few minutes.
Sounds good.
Speed of light.
There you go.
Okay, good job. It's a good lot of learning, guys. These discussions are very useful. So what Justin is talking about, it's really important the way you get when you get into a new country, new culture, how you can quickly get set up yourself and still deliver. Yeah. So in a VUCA environment, how do you balance clear communication with the team while continuously improving skills and remaining adaptable? Can you share a key example where this balance was crucial to a project success?
So I know we've kind of already talked about kind of how I've done my leadership, so I won't spend a lot of time on that because again, that's really my leadership style has been developed in this type of chaos and volatile type industry or marketplace. But one thing with clear communication with my team, I've always been very transparent with them and remaining adaptable. And one particular thing that we've had several individuals on our team where all of a sudden, typically in our line of work on these job sites where you're doing electronic security systems, you're going to have someone who's specialized in as an electrician, and then you're going to have your technicians, and then you're going to have the integrator that's going to be able to bring it all to life and have it all programmed. And we have individuals that, originally that got on the team that all they knew were those particular specialties. And over time, because we've kept that continuity, and we've been able to, all those guys really can become interchangeable. And to where that electrician can do technician's job to even understanding a little bit to the integration side of things and the programming. And so same with technicians, being able to understand integration, and so being able to develop the skills far beyond just your levels of expertise makes the team even that much more valuable, number one, but it even holds each other more accountable because they're able to check each other's quality. And where if you only have your own specialty, who are you to, if you're a technician, who are you to tell an electrician what to be doing or if they're doing something wrong, and vice versa. And so I will say that during the chaos that we've had, in the early years, that's where we develop the most as a team as far as all of our skills. And not only that, me as a leader, I never was afraid to get my own hands dirty, where I typically have been known to be taking a lot of the trash out and cleaning things up, sweeping. I've been doing things where I've kitted things up and made it easier for my team. And all those things, number one, yes, it builds rapport with your team, but not only that, number two, it helps you get a real understanding of what they go through, so that when you are a project manager and you're sitting in your office and you're trying to make decisions, you can visualize what they're doing exactly and be able to say, hey, if your boss comes to you and say, hey, they need to finish this up, well, you know how long it takes to do something like that, and you're now able to clearly communicate with that person of what needs to be done, and help them understand that, hey, that's not a realistic time frame that you're giving me. And so again, that helps with you being a better project manager, a better leader. And again, it really builds rapport with your team. And so I think that's very important. And again, hey, put your title aside. When you're on site, help that team. And again, and I'm not above picking up the trash. And I actually probably they get after me a little too much. They're like, hey, stop throwing that out. We might need some of that later. So again, that's something that me as a person, I think is very important, to being able to relate with your folks. And again, it just makes you more knowledgeable as a leader and a project manager, be able to make better informed decisions.
Exactly. Good. Yeah. So you clearly articulated the importance of communication, stakeholder, very, very important how you engage with the stakeholder, especially in the VUCA environment. So fantastic. Good job. Thank you. With your extensive experience managing portfolio and programs across challenging environments, how do you resolve ambiguity in project requirements, especially when dealing with conflicting stakeholder expectations and shifting objective in high-stake project contracts within the GCC region?
We've really kind of talked about it a little bit already. That stakeholder engagement is everything, and being able to expectation management is stakeholder engagement, expectation management. And for me, especially in this part of the world, relationships are everything. So when you say something that you're going to do something, you must deliver. If they do not deliver, if you don't deliver, it's going to be a hard charge for you to be able to complete things. And so making sure that you deliver on your word, at the end of the day, everybody is very understanding over here, but when you are not, or when you're telling them one thing that's not realistic, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And it's not necessarily just here, it is everywhere. But I feel culturally over here, it's very important, because the trust is everything. And when they have trust in you, they're going to be very understanding. They're going to find ways to accommodate and be and help make the project a success. But if you tell them one thing and you don't deliver, they don't have time for that. And that goes around the world in any type of business. But again, in this part of the world, I feel that a lot of our success from our team is being able to deliver on what we said we're going to be able to do. And I think Parsons as a whole has been doing that since the early 70s in this region. And that's why they have such a great reputation, as being able to deliver on what they say. And that's hard to do a lot of times, but that's the great experience and talent of our team overall as a company.
Yeah, great. So how do you resolve ambiguity? Yeah, very important. First of all, if we should have clarity, what we're delivering. If we don't have understanding, we are not clear about it, ask the question. Ask the right question to the right person.
And I'll add humility. If you made a mistake, own it.
Exactly.
That is super important. Do not try and wiggle your way out of anything. Own it. Say, we messed up. Here's my plan to fix it, to get us back on track. Just be honest and own it. I think that's very important, especially in this the world we live in now, accountability is very important.
Yeah, and trustworthy. The moment you lose the trust, because you said something and something else happened. Oh, okay. Bringing back the trust is not easy once you break the trust. So be open. Of course, you share the right information and right time. Escalate if required. You're right. Accept it.
Absolutely.
I know if something you were not clear and you did something else. Yeah, happened. It happened. Another person may be mad about it, made for the time, but they understand. Okay, at least you accepted the mistake, and yep, you have a way to fix it.
That's right. Yeah, they're going to be upset, obviously, for a day or two, but again, when you own it, they'll come around. When you don't, that's when they're going to be upset for a lot longer, and they're going to lose confidence in you as a leader. So
And might lose the big contract you are working on because of the
that's right. Yep, exactly.
Okay, so look, guys, it's VUCA is here, and we don't know for how long. It's going to be here because things are changing and complexity is not going away, and that is actually becoming more and more important to be upfront, knowing about and talking to the right people, and working out, being ready upfront. Okay, changing, and I remember from my COBOL days to COBOL and basic days to transitioning myself into new language. The new language, I know from the technical to the project management to program management. Keep an eye on what is next, what is changing. From the VEX VMS where I started my life to I worked in some of the modern technology. So keep an eye on those things. Okay, Justin, once again, thank you for your ongoing commitment to sharing your knowledge. This knowledge share is great. I'm sure people are using this or learning from you. Thank you very much. And
Always a pleasure, my friend. Great chatting with you, and looking forward to the next one soon.
I know, and I'm also looking forward to that. And thank you out of your busy schedule, super busy schedule with lots of travel plan, and you're still finding time to discuss these important topics. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Cheers.